decades, I have gained invaluable knowledge and experience in the world of stone. So join me as I open the doors of my world to you and share my journey. Welcome back. Today, I'm going to be discussing the topic of, if you haven't already guessed, chisels. But not just any chisels, hand-forged chisels. Now, we make them ourselves, and I think that makes us pretty unique, and that's why I'd like to discuss it. Now, you might ask yourself, why make your own chisels when you can just get them from Amazon? And that's a good question. A lot of people do just buy the mass-produced chisels that are readily available these days online, more so now than ever. In fact, we live in great times where if you want something, you just look it up online and there it is. Back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you used to have to really work hard to source professional tools. And you used to have to go usually abroad. We're here in North America. Most of the high quality tools either came from the United States or Europe. Well, today, you can also make your own tools, and that allows you a lot of freedom. So here we have some of the chisels that I was talking about, and you saw them earlier. And I'd like to discuss them and tell you about some of their qualities that make them particularly unique and special. Each one is got a different quality. As you can see, they're much thinner than a commercially available chisel, because they obviously they're not as robust and they don't last quite the same amount of time as a commercially made chisel. That's why they're much thicker normally. But these ones are unique because they have a lovely spring to them, and as you're working them, they give a different cut. It's much finer, much more refined, and that's one of the qualities. The other one is the ability to shape them any which way you want. And here is a gouge to be as an example, one that I made many years ago for doing a roping detail on the edge of a fountain. And as you can see, it's got an interesting skewed edge to it that allows it to curl around the roping. So that's something that you just can't buy. So that's one reason why you would make them. And as you can see here, we've got some detail carving chisels. We use these on site often for paring in installed stonework, finishing off fine details. For centuries, going right back to even medieval times, they would have worked all of their stones in place for the final details to get that perfect lineup, the perfect finish. that is much more difficult, though not impossible, much more difficult to get when you're working off of templates alone. So these are one of the reasons why we have these tools, and the other is for doing fine carving work. And this is just a small example of what we have. We have a lot more, but these are just a variety of what we call bull noses, which is good for doing inner curves, and square-headed chisels. And these are all made out of steel that came from a antique hay turner. I don't know if you're familiar with farm implements, but this would have been a hay turner, probably dating back to late 1800s, I'd say. It was a damaged one. It was just derelict in a field, and were able to get our hands on it. And these were the springs that used to flip the hay to turn it over for drying. And the steel in them is particularly special, and that's why we chose the antique steel, because modern steel is much more consistent, and whereas the antique steel has more of a life to it. It's got a little bit more of an iron content to it. It's not quite as high quality steel that we get today, and it gives a particularly unique quality to authentic work. And the spokes from the wheels, this is one of the spokes from one of the old wheels. As you can see, it was all mangled and bent. That bend is probably from the wheel itself. But this is one of the end rivets that would have gone into the rim. And they make great stock for mallet heads. So this is just one little tip I wanted to share. If you can get your hands on an old wheel from a piece of antique farm implement, that the heads make for great, that's the before, this is the after, mallet heads that you can make yourself, because it's the mallet head is actually the most difficult part in forging chisels. It takes quite a long time to get that beautiful spread, and it certainly saves it when it already comes much wider. So that's a little tip I wanted to share with you. But this, again, the steel is a different kind of quality, and this is just a rough stock. This is a blank. We have a whole horde of blanks, a lifetime supply from one machine. We'll never run short. We have you can get 2 chisels per spring, and if you've ever seen a hay turner, it's a whole series of springs that flip around, and they flip the hay. And so there's I'm not sure how many, probably hundreds of these springs, and they two chisels come out of one spring. So it's one, if you can get your hands on one damaged machine that's not of any historic value, and you can get permission to dismantle it, that's an excellent source of stock for antique steel. Otherwise, you can just go to a steel supplier and buy modern steel. But if you really want that authentic finish, nothing beats antique steel. It's something that you just cannot buy today that I'm aware of, and it gives it that authentic look. The other source too is old hay forks. These are made out of old hay forks that local neighbor gave to us. They were without a handle, not any good for anything else, and well, we've repurposed them into some beautiful chisels. So these are nice long ones, give a beautiful reach. And heavily corroded steel, which is very, very fine, can be an excellent source for fine details. So once you've cleaned them up, you clean all the rust off, and you end up with very thin steel stock. Well, you put that on the forge, and as you can see, the end result is extremely fine, and you can do some really incredible detail work with something that fine. A lot of fun. So along the way, I will show you. I'll get a forge set up. We haven't had an active forge in a few years, but we have the anvils, and I'll get that forge fired up, and I'll actually give a demonstration of forging tools. But if you're interested in doing this right away for yourself, you can always look up tutorials on forging of metal, running a forge. I'm sure there must be some videos out there. But this gives you maybe some inspiration as to another way of thinking about tools and where to get them and what you can do with them. When you're not bound by what's available in the tool catalogs, it really opens yourself up for freedom of doing details that you just couldn't imagine doing with the awkward commercially available tools. So this is something I wanted to make this short video, share with you, and I hope this inspires you to think about stone and carving work, the history of carving. When you look at old buildings, what was involved in the making of these old buildings. That all the old carving work in medieval buildings and ever since has been done with hand-forged chisels, made most likely in-house. And I think it's exciting, and I just want to share it with you. So thanks for putting up with this, my awkward videos, and I hope you enjoy it.